Hi, this is Harold Ree from the Paw Print Animal Rescue Podcast. We are so excited to bring you our Pitbull series. We have some amazing guests, people who have been impacted and inspired by pit bulls, great stories from some incredible people. And we kick off our series with the amazing Noelani Guerrero of Urban Suburban Apparel. And just to let you know, we're giving away some prizes at the end of our Pitbull series, some books, a dog goodie bag, and a cat goodie bag. Go to thisispawprint.com/giveaway to learn more. Thanks, and on to the show.
They would ask and be surprised. You'd be like, really? That's a pit bull? Oh my gosh, she's so good. She's so well behaved. She's so sweet. And I'm like, well, yeah. When I first had her, I didn't even realize all the negative stigma that came with the breed and until she started getting older. And then people started making comments like, well, aren't you afraid that she's going to bite you or whatever? I'm like, no, she's just a dog. And she's perfectly happy and sweet, as you can tell. She was definitely the first dog to get me to realize that my passion is advocating and rescuing.
This is Paw Print, an animal rescue community, episode 67, and the first episode of our Pitbull series. I'm Nancy Ree. Today's guest is Noelani Guerrero. Noelani and her husband run Urban Suburban Apparel in the Fresno, California area. Customers purchase their clothing and accessories from all over the world. They have 5 beautiful pit bulls in their family and have fostered dozens of other dogs. Noelani has an active social media following, including over 400,000 Instagram followers, which she uses to present pit bulls and other rescue animals in a positive light. If you want to learn more about Noelani Guerrero and Urban Suburban Apparel, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/67. That's the number 67.
I foster pit bulls or pit bull type dogs. I have fostered different breeds, but I generally stick with the pit bull breed. I just basically network them as best as I can on the internet, on my social media pages. And people like to follow along with their day one journey to when they're finally adopted. And usually they follow them into their new homes. Some of my previous fosters have made their own pages, their own social media pages. And so people love to go from there and see a dog, on its full journey, its full rescue journey. As a career, we have Urban Suburban Apparel. We're screen printing, and we also make bully breed apparel, basically. We make apparel for dogs and humans, and just to kind of shed positive light on the breed, because when I first got my dog, I was looking for apparel and stuff to kind of like sport my love for my dog, because I'm just like a proud dog mom and proud pit bull mom. And all the stuff that I found was just kind of like a little bit more mean-spirited, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. So I thought, we have Urban Suburban Apparel. Let's start making positive bully breed designs that people can start repping their rescues and all of that stuff. So that's kind of where we're at now. And now we're on our, almost 30th foster.
Whoa.
Yeah, we're getting up there.
How many years ago did you adopt or foster your first pit bull or pit bull type dog?
Indy is our first dog. I met her, I think about 7 years ago. And she wasn't mine. She was a friend of mine. And I had met her at a friend's get-together. He brought her. He had just adopted her. And he brought her, and she was a tiny little puppy. I just fell head over heels in love with her. And I started spending more time with her, and that friend now is actually my husband. So she kind of, I guess you could say, was our matchmaker.
Indy is short for Indica, right?
Yes, yes.
Right, great. How long did you have Indy until you started thinking about a second dog or a third dog?
Oh, let's see. Okay, so she must have been around 4 or 5 years old. I'm thinking 4. And then we had a friend who had a dog, and they would have play dates all the time together. We just loved seeing her, how she would interact with other dogs, and we were like, well, maybe we were thinking about getting her a sibling. We were thinking about it. And then it just so happened that I had basically heard of Malachi, my second dog I adopted, and he needed to be picked up before being taken to the shelter, and it was a kill shelter. So we just by chance went and got him, and we didn't even know if we were going to adopt him or not. We just knew that we had to help him, and then he stayed, and he ended up being her second sibling, or her first sibling.
That's really wonderful. Going back to Indy, what makes Indy special in your opinion?
So many things. I'm sure any dog parent would, say their dog is the best. And I have 5 of them, so I think they're all the best. But she has really proved to a lot of strangers that we've met along, as she was growing up, how wonderful pit bulls are and her breed is. They would ask and be surprised. You'd be like, really? That's a pit bull? Oh my gosh, she's so good. She's so well behaved. She's so sweet. And I'm like, well, yeah. And when I first had her, I didn't even realize all the, the negative stigma that came with the breed and certain people's opinions about them until she started getting older. And then people started making comments like, well, aren't you afraid that she's going to bite you or whatever? I'm like, no, she's just a dog, and she's perfectly happy and sweet, as you can tell, So I think she was kind of she was definitely the first dog to get me to realize that my passion is advocating and rescuing, So she's special in that way. She got the ball rolling,
And how has sort of living your life with dogs, how has it changed you?
It's definitely made it better. Every day is just awesome. You come home from work and you have these awesome creatures who are just so happy to see you, and you get to spend time with them, take them on walks, and, any dog parent would say that they make your life so much better and fuller. I feel like a house is not a home without a dog or a pet.
Right. Tell us, how'd you go from 2 to 5?
Oh, man. It kept progressing. Let's see, the third was Mayby, and a friend had called me and said that she had found a puppy. Basically, it had wandered in her friend's garage as they were leaving to go to the lake. They were loading up, so they're like, well, we can't do anything with this puppy. So they called her. She called me. She had contacted a couple rescues, and they were at capacity, so they couldn't take her. And so we went down there. Me and my husband went down there and picked her up, basically, and then she never left. She just ended up sticking around. Her and Malachi are best buds. Yeah, and then what was after her? So then Maybe. And then Nala, she was the first dog I actually got to choose to adopt. All the other ones just kind of came into my life by chance. Nala, my friend, she was fostering her, and she was sharing her journey and, her story on social media, and I was following along, and I fell in love with her, and I wanted to meet her, so we had a meet and greet, and she got along with my pack, and it ended up working out, and so we adopted her. And then Angel, she's our last one. She's going to be our last one for a long time. She was a foster with Fresno Bully Rescue. She was a mama, and we fostered her and her 5 pups. The 5 pups got adopted just in an instant. Right when they were ready to be adopted, they were gone. Everybody wanted the puppies. And Angel, I had asked, I was like, well, what's going on with Angel's adoption? Did she get any applications? And she hadn't gotten any applications, which I couldn't understand because she's so perfect. And then finally she got one application, and they were an awesome family. They're so, so nice. And they met with her, and they were basically almost going to adopt her, and I just came home and realized I couldn't let her go. I had gotten too attached to her, and she was attached to us. This was her home, so luckily the family completely understood, and I think they even looked at another dog that they were going to adopt. I'm not sure if that went through, but they were very, very understanding, so I'm very thankful for that. Right. And she's with us now.
So is Angel officially a foster fail or a foster failure?
Yes, she is a foster fail.
Oh, cool. We have one too, so. 30 fosters or 30-something fosters. Tell us, how'd you get involved with that?
When we started doing the clothing line, we've been donating part of our profits to our local bully rescue and a couple other ones that we know of. And I just realized, we could be doing more. We have a home, and we have a big size backyard. We have the time and the resources to do it. So I asked Fresno Bully Rescue, I said, hey, do you need someone to foster? let's start with a puppy. Let's start with something simple, and then it just went from there. And then every time one got adopted, another one needed a foster. So it just kept going.
Amazing. How did you and your husband kind of think of going with t-shirts and other apparel, of course, not just t-shirts, but
We had already had that going. We were already doing screen printing, and we were already making designs not really related to pets or bully breeds or anything like that. We both decided we could, we were in a position where we could do it because we do the screen printing and we have the ability to create clothing with awesome pit bull designs. So we just decided we were going to do it. And then ever since then, we've been making new stuff.
so if you want a dog-oriented or more specifically a pit bull-oriented design on your apparel, you're the place, right?
I would think so.
What kind of feedback do you get from your customers?
We've gotten great feedback. I love hearing the stories from people where they're like, oh, I was wearing your shirt and I got to talking with somebody else about pit bulls. And I love hearing about people who get to have an excuse to basically advocate because of their t-shirts or tank tops, It's awesome to hear that. And it's great to hear. I'll get people saying, oh, I saw your t-shirt over here. And it's like clear across the world. And it's crazy.
What's the farthest you can remember?
There's been some in Sweden. That was awesome to hear.
Wow, Sweden, that's cool. Pit bulls, probably the most misunderstood, maybe definitely in the United States, maybe in the world.
Definitely.
I've compared them a little bit to sharks, right? It's like every time something bad happens with a shark, it hits the news, and everybody wants to read it, right? Every time something happens with involving a pit bull, it hits the news, and everybody wants to read it.
Well, I think a lot more people are definitely coming around and starting to realize that a dog is a dog is a dog, and they're going to be how you treat them, not necessarily how you raise them, because there have been former fosters who were raised kind of like crap, basically, before they came here, and then you just give them a nice environment, and they'll react accordingly. They'll be happy if they're in a happy environment for the most part. I think a lot of people are starting to see that, and so many more people now are opting to adopt a pit bull, which is just awesome but I feel like years ago that was so taboo. It's like, why would you get a pit bull if you're going to get a dog? Why would you get a pit bull? But now people are seeing what great family dogs they are.
What advice would you give to those who are either new to pit bulls or are considering it?
I think if you're a first-time bully breed owner, you should definitely do basic training. I think it's very, very important, just because you learn the most, not necessarily your dog's learning the most, you're learning the most how to be a good owner and how to take control of a situation or how to understand your dog's body language or understand your dog's mood, So I think that definitely training is a big part if you're going to be a first-time owner, just to give them a chance, They're awesome dogs, and they're just like any other dog you would meet. I mean, well, maybe not necessarily, because my mom has a Chihuahua, and she is rambunctious.
Right.
They're so lovable, and they're loyal. Just great family dogs, We
don't have a lot of pit bull experience, but we have had some pit bull foster puppies. First thing I noticed about them is that pit bull puppies love to lick. I mean, they lick more than any other kind of puppy that I think we've fostered. And then the second thing is, if you can sleep next to a pit bull, it's about the greatest feeling ever, right? They're like that natural thermostat.
Mm-hmm. They're the best cuddlers.
The advice you gave is pretty much should apply to every dog. It's, basic training.
Yes.
Get to know your dog, give the dog a chance. What is the animal rescue situation like? Is there major overpopulation issues?
Well, I think it varies, on location. Over here in Fresno, we have a major pit bull and Chihuahua problem. Most of our shelters are just filled with pit bulls and Chihuahuas. It's awful. So there's even some organizations where they fly out Chihuahuas or pit bulls to, where was it? I think like Minnesota or somewhere where the demand, they didn't have as many, the supply and demand was different than it is here. We have awesome rescues out here who are just, they work so hard to get these dogs networked and adopted and get them into responsible homes, basically.
Here in Northern California, like, over by San Francisco, same thing. It's a lot of pit bulls, a lot of chihuahuas. Yeah. From what you can tell, why do you think that is?
Well, I think that pit bull, or people might get pit bulls when they're puppies or something, and then they grow up, and because they didn't train them, they might chew on stuff, and they're medium-sized dogs, they're strong dogs, so I feel like people might get overwhelmed by them and just irresponsibly take them to the shelter or just let them loose, and then we have, it's basically just irresponsible owners who aren't spaying and neutering, microchipping, keeping an eye on their pets. I'm not sure why the Chihuahuas so much and the pit bulls. Those are the ones who are mainly in the shelters.
It sounds like a lot of irresponsible, not just ownership, right, as you said, but a lot of irresponsible breeding, sounds like.
You go on Craigslist and you just see breeder after breeder after breeder, and it's just sad because there's so many other ones sitting in the shelter, or a rescue, waiting to get a home.
I know you support various animal organizations. Can you maybe highlight the ones that you like to work with?
The main one I work with is Fresno Bully Rescue. They're my local one. They're basically only bully breed, the only bully breed rescue in Fresno, California. I think maybe the Central Valley, I'm not sure. So they go and they pull pit bulls from the other shelters, in town and around the Central Valley. They do such great work with networking their dogs. So many people want a Fresno Bully Rescue dog now, which is so great.
That's awesome. What do they do, in your opinion, that really makes them special?
They have great outreach programs. They're on the news, I think, every single week, talking about the organization. They go to local schools and educate the young kids about how to properly meet a dog or how to properly handle a dog, and just let them experience time with a pit bull. So kids at a young age are learning, hey, pit bulls are cool dogs, and I love pit bulls. I love the pit bull that comes and visits our school, They're very active in the community, which is great because we have so many different people with all different careers who all just pull together for this one shared passion of rescuing pit bull type dogs.
What are the joys and challenges of running your own apparel company?
Well, it's nice to be my own boss for the most part. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more accountability, obviously, which is something to get used to when you're coming from working just a customer service or retail job, which I did, going to actually trying to run things on my own and me being accountable and responsible for all of it. So it definitely makes you grow up quicker, definitely. It's really awesome. And I feel really lucky to be able to do this and to be able to be in this position I am. I know a lot of businesses, especially small businesses, because we are very small. I know they have a hard time getting off the ground, but I'm lucky that we have such great supporters out there and people who share the same exact passion as me and or us and can relate to the clothing.
Sure.
And want to shop and give back.
What are some lessons that you'd be willing to share?
So many lessons. Basically, just don't let anybody tell you that you can't do something. There's always going to be people out there who may be doing something similar than you or to you. Somebody out there who basically tells you can't do what your dream is. Mm-hmm. But if you don't even have to have all the resources that we started off with, and like I said, we're very lucky to have the screen printing stuff, so we could just go straight to that. There's so many people, even my fosters, they're starting up their own things. They're starting up their own dog treats, at home dog treats, organic dog treats, and their own t-shirts on Teesprings and stuff like that. So it's awesome because it's a way also for them to give back to rescues, which is great.
You're an inspiration to folks. You absolutely are. Social media. You're a passionate user of social media, and you've built up a following over time. How many years ago was it, and how did things really start taking off for you?
I've had my Instagram for years, but I changed my name a couple times. The first time my account got closed down, so I had changed my name a couple times, and there are actually quite a few people who have followed me since years and years ago, before I even got Malachi, or right when I did get Malachi. So they've seen me add Malachi to my pack, and then add Mayby, and then add Nala, and they've seen all of that, which is awesome to know that people care that much about my dogs to follow through all my pages. But we've been on Instagram for several years now, and I just started getting into some of the other things. Instagram was kind of my main squeeze for a while.
Your main squeeze, and you have what you want to tell people how many followers you have?
I think it's 410
Woohoo.
or 412 or something.
Yeah.
1,000. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people. Do you remember, can you recall like the first time, I don't know, when you hit, 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000?
I remember all those milestones.
Really? And
Yeah.
what'd you think?
I don't know. Like, I know my dogs are cute, so it's easy for me to understand why people like to see them, but it still trips me out that people basically love my dogs as if they were their own, which is awesome. It's like, and I feel that I do the same thing on social media. I follow other people's animals and other people's dogs as if they were my own.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a mutual thing. We all love each other's animals.
So outside of Instagram, do you have any other favorite social media platforms right now?
I use Snapchat a lot. I just started a Facebook, but I just basically link everything from my Instagram to my Facebook right now. I have a Twitter, but I don't use that much. So basically Instagram and Snapchat.
Okay. What tips do you have when it comes to maintaining an Instagram page?
Depends on what kind of page you want to start. If you want to start a business page, it's going to be completely different than if you want to start just your pet page. But if you want to start a page for your pet, I just say just interact with people within your community. Look up, if your dog's a pit bull, look up the hashtag pitbull, and go like some pictures or go see other people's dogs and interact with them, and it'll just start growing, and you'll realize how many friends you're making, and it's so effortless. It really just kind of grows on its own the more you interact on there. How
often do you post during a week, let's say?
I usually post several times a day, so probably a lot a week.
Right.
Like on the weekends, I'll post probably 6 times a day, from the morning to the night.
Yeah, nice. What was your journey to becoming an entrepreneur? I mean, it sounds like you had some just regular jobs.
Yeah. I was working at a dry cleaners, and Urban Suburban Apparel was actually being ran by my now husband. He was my boyfriend at the time. Him and his partner, and they were doing kind of like just streetwear designs, and they would go to different skate competitions and sell their t-shirts, and they even donated some of their funds to after school programs. Basically their main mission was to kind of create clothing to inspire kids to stay off the streets and stay focused on their passions and their goals, if it's skating or singing or whatever it is, as long as it's not bad stuff. They were doing that for a while, and meanwhile I was working at the dry cleaners. Then I think it was just because of Indy and how many remarks we would get about Indy, oh, you're sure she's not going to bite you, or are you sure she's not going to turn on you, and from just strangers, because we used to bring her everywhere with us. So if you saw us, you saw Indy. So then I was like, you know what, we need to make a t-shirt with Indy's face on it that says ban ignorance, not pit bulls, because seriously. and then we made it, and then that was our first design, and we just kept going from there. My husband's business partner, actually, he had a baby and he moved on to a different career, so he kind of left Urban Suburban Apparel behind. I stepped up, and me and my husband still run it now.
Business-wise, how has it, what's been the impact?
We've definitely grown a lot from where we started. We're continuing to grow, and we're hoping that the ball keeps rolling and we keep getting bigger and bigger. We're discussing having to hire employees, but we're not quite there yet. We're still very on a personal, family-owned kind of scale.
How do people get a hold of your shirts? What are some of the various ways they can do that?
They just go to their website, our website, urbansuburbanapparel.com. I have a website. It's just noelani.weebly.com, I think. It's the free site you can make through Weebly. And my store link is on there, too, along with some information about kind of what I do and who my dogs are, and just a little background about us.
What advice would you give to the animal rescue community in general?
I get emails quite a bit from people who are interested in fostering, and they don't really know where to start. And it can be intimidating. It can be a very intimidating process, because you're responsible for a dog and you're supposed to be treating this strange dog like it's your own dog, but you know that eventually it's going to leave you and it's going to go to a different home, so it can be very intimidating at first because of that. But I think if you just have questions, just call your local rescue or shelter and ask questions. Let them know what your intentions are, and more than likely they're going to be willing and happy to fill you in, and because they want your help. They need fosters. They need people to help rescue with them. So just ask questions.
Outside of your 5 dogs, any inspiring animal stories that you like to share?
Moose, the last foster I had before this current foster, he's now adopted. He had really bad mange and his hair was basically all gone, and he was sitting in the shelter and he had no interest. It was between him or a puppy who I went to go check out to pick up for fostering. And I met with Moose, and I knew that we had to network him because puppies usually, they're cute and they go quicker, they're in demand. And he was a big 80-pound balding, he's a guy who looks like he has a lot of problems, so he needed the networking. I just started sharing him, and the response I got for him was just insane. Like, I had never gotten so many people who were interested in adopting him, more so than some of the puppies I've had, which was crazy and it was just so awesome to know that so many people out there were willing to give an adult dog from a shelter who had health problems a chance. They wanted to help him. They wanted to donate to him. They wanted to help Moose in any way that they could. And that was just so inspiring to see the community step up like that for a dog that by the shelter was deemed kind of not that adoptable. Well, so he definitely was very inspiring to me.
Yeah. Well, you have to say, you may not want to take this credit, but you truly saved Moose's life, right?
Oh, well, I guess. I think the people that adopted him, truly, they're going to give him a life for forever. They really, really saved his life.
Yeah, yeah. Here's one. Pit bull owners, pit bull lovers, whether it's social media, whatever, probably the most passionate animal bunch. Nothing like the passion and energy that pit bull owners have.
Oh, definitely not.
What do you think is behind all that?
It's because, like, when you take your dog out, you experience those negative opinions by people. You're not asking for it. People crossing the street, giving you dirty looks, pulling their children away from you, screeching when you get near them. And if you are not familiar with the negative stigma, you just don't understand what's going on. And then it starts to feel personal, So I feel like pit bull owners, they stick up for their dogs because they experience that. And so it makes you want to advocate more, and it makes you want to speak out more, and be more involved. And I think that's great.
What are ways that people can reach you, whether it's the website, social media?
They can follow me on my Instagram and see my doggies and their daily adventures.
And that's Noelani G. We'll put that on our show notes.
If you're having training problems with your dog, definitely seek a professional trainer or behaviorist, because I am neither of those things. I love to help people as much as I can with general information and advice, but I can't really get too specific because I've never met the dog or the family. So anybody who just wants advice about fostering or rescuing or how to get started or anything, they can contact me through my website, and I would be more than happy to fill them in.
If you had a magic wand and you could solve some problem with animals, what would it be, and what would you do?
Basically, I would want every dog owner out there to be responsible, not let their doggies run away or breed irresponsibly, and not let them end up in shelters or in bad situations. If we could get everybody on the same page or a similar page as far as animal welfare goes, we would see a huge difference.
Anything else that you like to share with the audience?
If you're not a fan of pit bulls, just give them a chance, please. And if you want to see some really sweet, awesome, well-tempered pit bulls, visit my Instagram page and you will have just a plethora of videos and photos. That's just proof. And you can just probably search the hashtag and you'll see a bunch of family dogs being good, not making headlines for bad stories.
We want to say thank you to Noelani Guerrero for sharing her story. The 2 things I learned from Noelani today are to believe in yourself and express what you believe. So thank you, Noelani. If you're interested in checking out Urban Suburban Apparel, Noelani is offering a 10% off coupon code. It's simply SHOP4FBR. Shop, the number 4, and FBR as in Fresno Bully Rescue. You can also get some other coupons by visiting her website, signing up for her email list, or following her on social media. Go to thisispawprint.com/67 to learn more. Join us next time on our Pitbull series as we interview Zach Scow, founder of Marley's Mutts Rescue in Kern County, California. If you want to follow me and Nancy on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, look for This Is Paw Print, all one word. If you want to listen to more episodes of Paw Print, you can find us on your favorite podcast app like iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, or YouTube. Make sure to hit subscribe to get the latest episodes immediately. And we want to say thank you to all of you, our listeners out there, for sharing Paw Print with your friends and family. And remember, you spread a positive message of love and peace by saving an animal. Have a great day, everyone, and see you next time with another great guest on Paw Print.
Paw Print is a production of EVER Education.
You can't handle the truth.